Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Several people sent me notes saying Carvana's in trouble in Illinois. Have you seen this? Well, these stories start to sound alike because Carvana's gotten in trouble in a couple different states, as have other car sellers of this type. We're talking about the people who've come into the field in an attempt to nationalize simpler car sales with the internet, right? So this story is from WGN-TV, although I'm also going to get some coverage from Automotive News. And like I said, sent to me by a whole bunch of people. John Clark wrote this version for Nexstar Media. Carvana loses license to operate in Illinois. The entire state says stop selling cars until we figure some stuff out. The state of Illinois has suspended the license of online auto dealer Carvana after the company failed to properly transfer titles on vehicles it sold. And I have gotten complaints in my office from around the country. People call me and say, Steve, I bought a car from Carvana or one of their competitors a while back, and I still haven't gotten a title. Most states have got specific laws that say if a car dealer sells you a car, they must process the paperwork in such a way that you get the title within a certain amount of time. Obviously, they're only in control of how long it takes them to get the title work to the state. The problem is, if they take too long, then they screw that up. The company is also accused of misusing out-of-state temporary registration permits, according to Automotive News. And that's another one. I've heard quite a bit about this, and I even did a story about this, where people who bought cars in one state got a temporary tag, and then when they complained and said, I never got my actual plate for my car, they were sent more temporary tags for other states. And that's a problem. So, Illinois Secretary of State opened an investigation into over 90 consumer complaints in February and said Carvana will have to resolve the issues at hand before they lift the suspension. So they got 90 complaints in 1 month. Now you say, Steve, Illinois is a big state. It's a populous state. Yes, and I'm here to tell you that government agencies like the Secretary of State's office, the DMV, or like say the Attorney General's office, where they register complaints, they get complaints all day long from all walks of life. But when they start seeing the same complaints pop up over and over again with the same actors, that's when you get on their radar. You don't want to be on their radar. So, Carvana says it strongly disagrees with the state's stance. Here's the quote. Carvana has compliantly operated as a licensed dealer and a good corporate citizen in the state of Illinois for several years, and we strongly disagree with the state's characterization of both the facts and the law leading to this action. Carvana spokesperson. We are actively working with the state to resolve this issue, and they have agreed that we will continue delivering already purchased vehicles. We look forward to resolving this issue with minimal disruption to customers. So if you've already bought a car from them but haven't taken delivery, they're allowed to complete that transaction in Illinois. Carvana allows customers to purchase a car completely online and have it delivered as soon as the next day or pick it up at one of its 17 car vending machines nationwide. Once delivered, the customer has 7 days before committing to the purchase. Carvana has also opened an 8-story vending machine in the Chicago suburb of Oak Brook. The vending machine holds 27 vehicles. The question is, if your vehicle gets stuck, do you go over and shake it like you do with a candy bar? Sorry. The company laid off 2,500 employees last week after experiencing slower than expected growth and a loss of $260 million in the first quarter of 2022. Now, Automotive News was referenced in that story, so I went and poked over there to see what they have. And they say that Carvana is under scrutiny in Illinois, where state officials last week suspended their license to sell cars and trucks in Illinois. The Secretary of State temporarily blocked Carvana's dealer license on May 10th because the company failed to properly transfer titles for vehicles it sold and misused issuing out-of-state temporary registration permits. That's according to an Illinois Secretary of State spokesperson. So they were doing something wrong, according to them, with out-of-state temporary registration permits. The Secretary of State's police department opened an investigation into consumer complaints about Carvana back in February. That's also helped, speaking to the Automotive News. The investigation spans about 90 signed complaints, he said. He said he couldn't provide an exact date as to when Carvana might see the suspension lifted, presumably because they've got to get this stuff straightened out. And I will tell you right now that a lot of this can be chalked up to growing pains, okay? So if you were to go to a car dealership, a small one that sells a couple cars a day, and look at the paperwork they do on any given car sale, that's a lot of papers. That is a lot of papers. And a lot of dealerships have got one or two people who do nothing but handle the paperwork. Somebody whose job it is to oversee the paperwork. A lot of papers have got to be signed by a lot of different people. A lot of stuff gets sent to a bank, to the state, given to the customer. They got to keep some on their own, in their own files. All kinds of paperwork. And then if you go to a high volume dealer, there are some car dealerships that sell more cars than you can imagine in any given day. Just boom, 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 boom. I'm talking about normal times. Nowadays, maybe not so much, but during normal times. And they, again, have people whose job it is to oversee the paperwork. But if you saw the paperwork they're doing, you go, that's crazy. Well, take that and imagine if you scaled that up to a statewide operation. It was selling a lot of vehicles. It would be a nightmare. And one of the problems, apparently, is the handling of the titles in particular. So Carvana takes a vehicle in on trade, or they buy a vehicle, they buy a used vehicle, and they get this vehicle. Along with the vehicle, they've got to get the keys and the title. And I'm purposely throwing in the keys because the keys are an important thing here, especially nowadays. So if you ever watch, for instance, the Mecum auto auctions on TV, and watch the interior shots of the cars go by, you'll see that the keys are often in the ignition because they got to do that to, sometimes unlock the steering wheel and so on. And there'll be a big old zip tie type thing that goes around the steering column and then through the keys so that the keys cannot get separated from the car because it is a nightmare if they want to sell somebody a car and they haven't got the keys. So the keys are important. But the title is important also. And the thing about it is they bring a car into their inventory. They bring it in with the keys and they bring it in with a title. The title is a piece of paper that's got to be handled and it's got to be filled out by the person who sold it to them and then filled out by Carvana and then also filled out in a way that reflects who the car is going to. And then that's got to get sent to the Secretary of State of the DMV in the state where the sale takes place. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds to me like they put a lot of work into the moving the cars around aspect of the business. They put a lot of thought into the vending machines and also delivering the vehicles. But the problem they've been encountering is getting the paperwork with respect to the titles handled. And that, of course, is the thankless part of the job. Because if you go back to my mentioning all the paperwork that's handled at the dealership for a single transaction, a bunch of it has to do with the transfer of ownership, and a bunch of it has to do with payment. Most dealerships are really, really good with the payment stuff because it gets them paid. They don't do it right, they don't get paid. So they get that right fine. And then the titling work gets done simply because it's got to get done. And also the state wants to get paid. So if you screw that up, the state will notice. If people complain, the state will notice. And so they've got to get that straightened out. But it seems to me, and again, this is just me reading between the lines and listening to the complaints I've heard, is that it's just a gigantic operation. They scaled up very, very quickly. They got very, very successful very fast. But the downside is, along the way, they couldn't streamline the processing of all the titles. So as of right now, but it could change at any minute, as of right now, Carvana's lost their license to operate in Illinois. That's according to WGN-TV and Automotive News. The first story is written by John Clark. And I got to thank everyone who sent this to me. And I did a video 2 days ago and I forgot to thank the 4 people who sent it. I'm so sorry. But listen to everyone here. Gavin, David, Josh, Chad, Brent, Carlton, Daniel, William, Neil, Stephen, Suze, Elliot, Robbie, Andrew, Terrell, Ronald, Ron, Nicholas, Matt, Echo, Rob, Barbara, Timothy, Madcap, Artie, Lewis, James, and Dave. And I've had someone say, Steve, why would you thank both Stephen and Steve? Well, I'm a Steve, and I know people out there who are Stephen. And if someone addresses me as Stephen, I actually respond a little more slowly because I'd rather hear you call me Steve. And likewise with Robbie and Rob. Rob probably likes to get called Rob. Not so much Robbie. But Robbie likes to be called Robbie. So there you go. So thank you, everybody. That's the story. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Brilliance is typically the act of an individual. but incredible stupidity can usually be traced to an organization.